Hello everybody, it's the Last Raider. We're back with another video. And today we have, you can tell by the title of the video, a very, very one-sided and very, very unfair fight. When comparing Western comics today to Japanese manga in any era. Alright, any era Japanese manga is good. Not any era can Western comics be very good. And part of the problem is the people writing the books. You have these people that don't realize that they are writing comic books and not movies. They really want to write movies. They want to write their Netflix series. Reality, no, that's not what you're here to do. You're here to write comic books, and you can make good money writing comics if you know what you're talking about. So this is coming in from Tom King, the guy who cucked Batman. 3 pages of a static headshot in a comic book where the only visual limit is human imagination. Absurd. You should do at least 4. And basically what he's talking about is and Tom King mentions here in this one tweet something that I've been saying for a long time. A comic book should be tackled as a movie with an unlimited budget. Okay? A movie that you are only required to provide stills of action, just pictures of action. But you have an unlimited budget on how you can do those actions. If you need the Infinity Gauntlet, you just go get Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and put him in there. You've got an unlimited budget. You can pay him whatever he wants. No consequences. That's the thing about a comic book. The problem that you have, though, with Tom King and many others, is they have this belief, it seems, that they are doing an actual movie. And so they put a lot of rules in movie making that a lot of times there are, and a lot of the rules in there, a lot of the stuff of, like close-ups, some types of close-up shots, many other types of shots. These are usually put in over more grandiose shots at times. It's kind of like how I was talking about, me and the wife were talking about Mulan, and I said it was much better that they did, Mulan, the animation, was much more grandiose and visually stunning than Mulan the live action. Because in Mulan the live action, there's a limit to how many extras you can put on the screen. With Mulan, like if you have, the Mongol hordes are coming down, it's just like about 200 guys riding into battle. The first scene, the Mongols, every time you saw them in the animated movie, they looked like ants climbing up onto the wall of China, coming down the mountainside. They looked like an army of ants, like there was no limit to them. In the Mulan movie, it's like 200 or 300 of them. That's all the extras we could afford. If you ever watch other movies when they talked about how they did stuff, take The Longest Yard, for instance. Yeah, they did like 200 people, but they came up with an interesting way of moving 200 people around a stadium. And they just did that in a stadium and just did the same shot and then just merged all those shots at the same pan speed, at the same run. You're actually seeing the same 200 people multiplied like 500 times. That's all it is. You can do this if you know what you're doing in a movie. Like I said, there are ways around your budget. However, you have to pay those 200 people for all the time that you're putting them in there. You can tell Mulan's budget did not accommodate a lot of the extras that they really needed. In animation, in a comic book, you are limited by how much you can draw. And Tom King recognizes this, which tells me, yes, he knows that it would be much better to have these large expositions going back and forth of this little panel. We're going to get to these 2 panels here in a minute, or these 2 pages. And he knows the visual limitation is the human imagination and the limitations of the artist, which usually the artist's limitations are not very much. But he says he starts with 3 pages of static headshots in a comic book. You should do at least 4. This is filler. Now, we're going to get to those manga ones here in a minute. These are the pages that Tom King is talking about. And I want you to notice something. This is not something that's done for the sake of, we're doing this for a storytelling element. This is something done because, hey, we've got 4 pages we have to fill in this book. So we're going to stretch. It's just stretching. It's not even real. And here's the thing that irritates me. Because if you've read any books on how to do manga, or manga, for those purists out there, or if you read any books on how to do comics, they will tell you when you do something, there's a difference between having a panel and you have a guy that's sitting there. One example was you got two guys that are sitting there, and one dude goes, "We need to get groceries." And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, we do." Then the next example of how you should do it in a comic book to be entertaining, because the purpose is to entertain people, is the one dude is busting the door and saying, "We've got to get groceries," real dynamically. And then the other guy jumps up out of the chair, raising his fist. He goes, "Oh yeah, we do." And that makes a much more dynamic story. And the visual storytelling there keeps people interested in the book. You should have your characters moving around doing different things. You should have multiple shots. Now, can you do this static headshot thing and make it work? Yes, but let me tell you something. I don't know what the book is, but this is obviously filler for a couple of reasons. One, you zoom in here. Other than the eyes, this is the same exact picture. It's just someone just digitally drew the eyes in. The eyebrows are the same. The mouth is the same. Everything's basically the same. We get over here, same three pictures. These two over here are exactly the same. They've even got, I can't zoom in that close. If you look down at the jawline, they've both got the same exact mistake at the bottom jaw. Even on this one, same exact coloring mistake. Or that may just be a bandage or something, but it's exactly the same. It should be a little bit different. The markings on the face are the same. This is just filler. It is here to, this is a thing that Marvel does. It's a thing that DC does now, where they fill a book with exposition, just tons of fucking wording. They can't keep it short and sweet because they're SJWs, mind you, most of the time. If you ever seen an SJW meme, you understand where I'm coming from. They don't know how to do something. They don't know how to make a joke and make it simple. They put a joke in there and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm not reading that shit. Put it down to like 20 words or less and then we'll read it." They have this long, giant 14-point college essay on why they're funny. And here's the thing. If you have to explain the scene, you've done something wrong, especially in comic books. If you have to explain to the audience what they're looking at in a book that is primarily of drawn pictures, you have failed somewhere. Either the artist has failed to properly put the artwork to convey what the writer has said, or the writer is so piss poor at their job that they have given the artist a very limited material to work with. I mean, you look here. This is the same page. Right here, these two pictures, almost exactly the same. See, but no, we're not going there yet. Go over here. Other than the eyes and the mouth, exactly the same photo. You're looking at all this stuff. You have the same freaking photograph, the same picture. They did drawing on one picture and they just made a few minor changes. And like I said, this has nothing to do with storytelling right here. Because you have emotion on both sides of this phone conversation they're having here. You can have a guy on the other end and be showing his frustration with this chick, which is supposed to be what's going on. He's supposed to be frustrated with her. You should be showing his frustration right now. Instead, you're just concentrating on this one person. Like I said, go over to the next one here. Set up. Same exact picture practically. Oh, went too far. Not only is it the same exact picture, but if you look on this bottom panel here, you can see that other than the middle panel, almost every one of the other four on the either side of the middle panel here, they're exactly the same. Except for the eyes are open or the mouth is open in some of them. It's lazy. This tells me that you have a crunch time and you're not meeting it. Up here, same two panels. Same picture, just one smile. One's been tweaked to look like it's smiling. Same picture. We have reached a crunch time somewhere in making this book, and we had to get in there, and we're using the same photograph and we're moving it around basically. That's how this has been done. And you're only concentrating on one thing. This, and I watched Sweetcast. Sweetcast stated this would be a good thing to do if you're wanting to focus on a person's face, particularly for a few minutes for a reason. But Marvel and DC have both done this to the point. There's one with Cable in it, where the entire page is just Cable. It's like 9 panels of Cable just looking into a mirror. And then the last one, Cable saying something. And I'm just, there's a point where and like Sweetcast was saying, this works if you need to concentrate on the character. But in a comic book, and in a movie, it works really well in a movie if you're trying to concentrate on a single character for several minutes as they're talking. Because what you're dealing with is not a static medium. You're dealing with a visual medium in motion. With comics, you're dealing with a static medium. You should be able to convey that emotion with one panel, that intensity with one panel, and then continue the story. You may have to make that panel a little bigger sometimes, and that's the thing. You could convey the concentration on this character, take a space of about where 4 of these panels are, probably up here. These 4 panels right up here at the very top. Wipe those out, put a big picture up there of her being, dead serious and whatnot. And that can convey all the emotion of 4 fucking pages of what you were trying to do with, let's see, what are we dealing with here? 9 times 4? Shit, my mathematics just completely went out for a minute. Give me a sec here. I have to go through some mathematics at the point. For 36 panels. 36 panels, which on a page, to convey a point visually that you could do with just an area of 4 panels using one. You can do the looking into the mirror. You can do these close-up face shots if you know what you're doing. Mix in some stuff where the other guy is. Now, mind you, we're doing the same thing talking on a phone for 2 panels. Here's Manga doing it. Here's how Manga does it. They're just sitting at a table going over test results. Okay? See the intensity. Dynamic, speed lines. You can tell what this character's emotion is doing. Same exact thing, like I said over here. All of this to convey an emotion. Manga does it in one panel. She's frustrated, she's angry, you can see all of it, and it's conveyed in a single panel. We have one panel up here setting up this character's emotion, and now the burst that she's boiling over, and now the final explosion of emotion comes out. Now we have the same, another picture doing the same thing. We've got the ability, we already know what's happening, and we're moving along. Within just 2 pages, Manga has told more story than these have here with all the writing and all the exposition. And mind you, they're probably doing it with less words. Less is more when it comes to a comic book sometimes. Especially if you're doing story art. You can do grandiose stuff. You can have massive space battles. But if you're doing these tiny nuanced stuff here, you can do less is more. This is just boring. I'm looking at this the hell? I ain't reading all this shit. Skip ahead. That's what you're looking at right there. This does much more. It keeps you, all right, we have a test here. They're outside in the park. We see this character's response to it. It keeps you interested. There's something new going on. This is repetition. This is going out on a date with your girlfriend. This is sitting over there getting scolded by your mom and dad while they sit there and give you a 4-hour speech about why you should do better in life. This is getting on your PC, playing your favorite games with waifu mods. This is sitting in school, learning how to spell a word and writing it multiple times so you know how to spell it. This is fun. This is dynamic. This is boring. This is bland. It does not get me interested. It doesn't make me interested in the book. I heard some people saying, hey, the book's actually really good. The story's actually really good. If I'm judging your story off these 4 pages, 4 pages, mind you, this is not 1 page, this is 4. 4 pages of your book, I'm not interested in it just by looking at these 4 pages. I'm already checking out. You should have a book, and this is how you should do comics. You should do a comic where any 1 page that you show from that book should interest people and drive them in. The thing that has gotten me interested in mangas, and if you ever check out Real Rice Kun on Twitter, he's always doing this. He's putting up about 3-4 pages of manga, and everyone's like, sauce, man. What's the sauce? What's the sauce? If you cannot sit there, look at your artwork and put 1 page up. Here's how comic artists and comic writers should take their books, okay? You should write each page with the same work and intensity as if that 1 page is going to determine whether a person picks up your book. If you're an artist, you should look at the pages you're doing the panels and ask yourself, if I have to sell this book with this 1 page, will it entice people? Will it interest people in getting the book? This over here, no. I'm looking at 2 pages and I'm like, man, this is some boring ass shit. Look, right? I mean, I don't know what this character is doing. I don't care what this character is doing. Any other regular panel, like right here, this one good one, by itself would sell. It is completely dwarfed and diluted by all this crap. Any one of these panels is a single page shot you could do in high detail and then have the rest of the conversation going back and forth between her and this other guy on the page. But this is boring. This is going out of your way. See right here, this would be a good shot. This would be a good shot. This is a whole bunch of good art. Some of it repetition, but individually each part of this is good, especially like this. I do like this single shot. I'm not saying the art is bad. I'm saying it's diluted. It's been diluted down so much. There was a movie I remember watching where a girl says she wants to put, she was talking about evil, and she's talking to the bad guy, and the bad guy says, oh, no, not too much evil. She goes, why? He said, too much evil destroys evil. And he has a point. All right? Too much of the same thing repetitiously becomes boring over time. You got to remember, human beings, we like shiny things. If you've ever studied like sniper training, one of the things snipers try to avoid first is shiny objects. The one thing that they hate the most is that glint off the scope. They try everything they can to try and kill that scope glint. They also don't like anything shiny. I remember watching where they were training snipers and they caught a dude. And he's competing against other snipers in a sniper training course to learn how good he is at his stalking game. Basically, where you see where they're in full ghillie and they're wandering around in the grass and everything. That's what they're doing. One guy at about 100 yards out gets caught, and they have him come up, and they say, make him stay where he is. Because they'll send guys out there and tell them to find the dude, and they'll poke around the area with a stick, see if he's in the area, if they hit him or not. They catch the guy, tell him to stay down. They walk up, and the guy goes, yeah, right here. A tiny patch on the guy's hand, which had shiny plastic knuckle plating that was green. They said, yeah, you need to put some tape over that, some fiber tape, or put some piece of cardboard over that, because that's what gave you away. Human beings like shiny things. We like movement. When you're learning how to conceal yourself, you learn what people are looking for and what attracts them. Number 1 is movement. 2 is shiny. 3 is silhouette. If you have constant movement, constant flow like this manga here. I don't even know what the manga is, but I'd love to read it. I'd love to read it off just this one panel right here. This constant movement, it keeps you enticed. It's sort of also, if you understand the concept of hypnosis, when they use the pendulum to move back and forth, the idea is to keep your mind occupied on the pendulum as it moves back and forth to lull you into a sense of almost like putting you in a zone for a moment. It lulls you into a sense, but that constant movement keeps your eyes on the target. So you don't see what's going on. Magicians do the same thing. They usually have a hand. They try to concentrate on what they're doing. The trick to sleight of hand is we keep you concentrating on what's going on while I'm over here moving the object from one pocket to the next. So I act like I've put it in this pocket and I hold my hand up and I reach over, and as long as you're looking at that hand and you don't see me move it from one pocket to the next, you never see it. This is achieved by movement and motion. It's done by usually shiny. Usually a magician uses white gloves. You see this and it blurs out and it causes a tunnel vision effect. With entertainment, that's what you're doing. You're trying to capture a person and get them into that hypnotic state of, oh my God, this is so amazing. Turn the page and I'm so engrossed in this story. I have to keep checking it out. I have to keep turning pages. A good book, a good manga, a good story, a good comic book, you should really regret when you get to the last book. The best stories that you read. Because if they're written properly, if a comic book is drawn properly, if it has the proper motion, when you get to the end of that book, there should be this pain of, I don't want to say disgust, it should be a pain of regret. Because something you're enjoying is fixing to end. That's why, and you hear people all the time, they're like, man, manga just doesn't last very long. Anime just doesn't last very long. It's like, most of the time the good stuff's like 2 or 3 seasons and it's over with. Man, we wish this stuff would last longer, People want to binge it for a long time. They want to see more stories of it. You get that by doing manga like this, by doing constant motion and action. That doesn't work with this. This doesn't entice people. Any one page from these 4 pages does not sell a book. This one page has probably sold this manga more often, and I thank you, Nerd Wonder, for putting this up there because it was wonderful having. But this one page has probably sold more copies of this than of all 4 of these pages have sold anything combined. I don't really care about this from these 4 pages. There's nothing going on. There's no action. It's a phone call. I have these every day with my wife. This is not making the phone call action or dynamic. And I'm only seeing one side in the conversation. You're telling me you cannot do this with just 1 or 2 panels and fit all of this into one page with a little bit more better writing. This is far better. Because there is motion. This is going somewhere. You know what's happening. You know where you're going. This guy, by the way, Tom King's an idiot. Anyway, folks, tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think you might have learned something from this on comic writing? Because as I said, if you pick up any how to draw comics, how to write manga, or how to draw manga, this is what they tell you to do. And this is what they tell you to stay away from. This long exposition. And mind you, this is just filler. They needed a spot for probably 4 pages in the book to fill up to meet the page quota that they were having. Manga, this is why manga sells better than Western comics. Anyway, folks, I am The Last Raider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Not only, don't forget that, also hit the bell for notifications because I put these videos out as often as I can. And as always, stay safe, stay frosty. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.